Good afternoon and welcome to the Fred Hampton Leftist Roundtable. Today on September 16th, 2001, I am going to be your host for today, JB. Today I have with me Jackie. Rome is going to be on location, so we'll be joining up with him later. And we also may have some special guest co hosts who are joining us today. Jackie, my friend, it's good to see you as always. How are you?
You muted me. You started out not letting the black woman talk. Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
You immediately start.
I apologize a trillion times.
We are 1 minute in and we have our first super chat. I guess the monetization's working.
Yeah, thank you, Frank Cabot. I appreciate that. He says every person, every day, stop buying crap and supporting corporations. Community support only. Agreed, definitely.
Yes.
I want to say hello to everybody in the chat before we get started because it's been a wild week and like I know you've been looking at the news for this week, right?
Try not to, but yeah. It
Of
permeates, but I try to avoid it. I do my
Yeah.
best. It doesn't work.
Unfortunately, it comes
Especially with
to us.
RJ, like, did you see this? And I'm like, God damn it, RJ.
Yeah, RJ. He's always like, hey, take a look at this. Next thing you know,
Yep.
now he's posting up short videos. By the way, on FHL, the YouTube channel, check that out. You know, he's doing like little shorts now on different like news that pops up. So check those out as well.
Breaking news.
Yeah,
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna make him a breaking news banner that he can like, or an intro, so that he can be like breaking news.
That would be funny.
It has to be RJ because I don't pay attention. Like I'm not like, well, first of all, like I work full time, and so multiple days of the week, when I work, I'm not into anything. I'm just working. So, and of course, you know, him being Generation Zygote, he's into everything. So, yeah, he sees all, he knows all. I'm old, so I'm like, what? Who's funny. Doing what? I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
He keeps the old heads informed.
You know what? I had to count myself among those old heads now because, you know, I'm just a couple of years away from 40, so
I'm a couple years past it.
But you look wonderful.
Thanks. I realized I was like, something's wrong, and I just realized because I was like, my face doesn't look quite right. I forgot my ring light.
Oh,
that's why. So I have 2 ring lights that I have to have, and one of them is on my camera.
My complexion right now. You're kind of going to JB Hue right now.
Wait for it.
She's actually light skinned.
Oh, shut up.
Hey, Aspen Fallen, good to see you. Noli D, nice to have you. Anthony Ryder, come on. I see more are pouring in. Thanks again, Frank Cabot, for the super chat. Gene says,
okay, let's not say that question out loud. Let's answer in generalities because, you know, the big tech companies, if you actually say certain things, especially if you go against the narrative, they will deplatform you or demonetize you. So we're going to answer that question without saying the question or saying that certain word. That's it. Not that question. There's a different one. Sorry. I was looking at another one that, I think it was Gene. Was it Gene that brought that up? I don't know. There's another question that I was thinking about.
I think I see what you mean. Okay.
Yeah, there it is. It's the one right underneath it. That's the one I was looking at. So for this one, yeah, we can answer that one.
Okay. I'm looking for information on the history of political groups or organizations blocking police from evicting people from their homes. Any ideas where to look?
Afeni could probably answer that question better because she's out there actively trying to do it.
Yeah, she can. But I've seen actually, I've actually seen on Twitter videos of people literally like preventing evictions from happening at certain courthouses.
Mhm.
And I'm not exactly sure. It was a while back, but that's actually a really good question. Um, because there are some groups out there that do it. That's
You
kind
know
of
what?
below.
That's I'm gonna write that question down because if we can find the answer to that, I will put it up on our website
Okay, cool.
because that's a pretty good resource to have.
Yeah, because
Um, okay, I'm gonna write it down. So keep talking.
okay. But yeah, there's I'm sure there's some people on Twitter. I'm not sure if you're on Twitter, Gene, but actually, you know what? If you can tweet that question and tag me on there, and I'll retweet it as well, so we can find the answer to that question. Because I have a few followers, so we can get that question answered. Um, Now the other question that I shall not read, y'all can read, so I ain't gonna read it. Um,
Well, you read around it so you can say, is it still taboo to be skeptical about the whole experiment and the
yeah,
origin? Let's just leave it at that.
yeah,
So
yeah. Um,
I think
Look,
to answer that question, you have to define taboo. If you're talking about it depends on the situation, because if you're
mhm,
talking about like in neoliberal circles, it will never not be,
yeah,
because they are trying to force everyone, because they're going all in on that, on one solution, shall we say.
yeah.
Andy,
Hmm.
hey
Awesome,
Andy.
awesome.
That was absolutely amazing reflexes, Jackie. I was
Thanks.
so not even on yet that I only heard D, but I didn't even hear the and part.
So, Andy, we are answering this question, but we are not reading the question out loud because we do not want to be deplatformed. So the
Oh,
question is it still taboo to be skeptical about the whole experiment and origin? We're going to avoid certain words so as to not be demonetized, deplatformed, or any
Yeah,
of the other Ds.
because we're not TYT and we're not part of the corporate algorithm like they are. That's why.
oh,
Indeed.
hang on. Isn't TYT the company that Nina Turner works for?
Oh, we're
Yep.
gonna get into that.
We're going to get to that.
Oh, we'll get to that.
Okay. All right. Just so we're clear.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Okay. Well, nothing like jumping right in.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So,
I really. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna have to the filter. I just turned the filter on. I've got some life situations that have tainted my view of um, the um, the event
mhm,
that started in early 2020, and a few of them are as follows. My wife is a scrub nurse in the local hospital, right?
mm,
So she's had, and vicariously myself through her, lived through the entire uh, really, really scary time where I had to go and get our trailer out of storage and put it in the driveway so she had a place to safely live when we were all still scared to death. Um,
Wow.
and so, okay, because if you recall, and I know it was a while ago, and it's hard for people to remember even what they had for breakfast yesterday, but when this first all came out, um, it scared a Republican president into shutting everything down and giving people free money. Like, what else could possibly do that? So
Wait, are you talking about in the United States or in Canada?
in the United States.
He didn't do that.
Well, whoever did.
It was the governors that did it. He didn't actually shut anything down. It was state by state. Governors decided to do it.
Oh,
He did press conferences, but he didn't
So it
actually
wasn't
shut
a
anything down.
mandate from the federal government. It was
Not
okay,
at all.
right,
It was
right.
state by state.
Okay, I'm sorry, I erred.
He also his advisors came up with the idea of paying us, but it was Congress that actually did it.
Okay, all right. Well, okay. Regardless, I went a little bit of a tangent, and I shouldn't have there. But I mean, it was so, everything was so scary and up in the air. But this has continued for healthcare workers because they've not left that front line for this entire time, right? It's just people have been disconnected by it because of all the propaganda that we hear and all the different sides that we hear, and a lot of numbers have gone up and they've gone down, and we've seen waves and what have you, and I might everybody know on the stream, if you don't know, I'm from Canada, so we've certainly been a little more resolute in our social distancing and mask wearing and all that stuff and what have you, but you know, the province of Ontario was in lockdown from pretty much Christmas until the second week in July, and that was our second full everybody stay in your house gig, right? And so we've been dealing with this as best we can. And if you look at other countries in the world, a lot of their mandates have been very similar to ours, and it's a very unique position that the US has taken on this. And I can understand, because I know that the American propaganda machine has no equal in the world, right? Mm-hmm. And so I could just imagine how hard it is, especially for people from my age group and older, trying to get proper information on what's happening, because, you know, when you live in a capitalist society and you want to solve a problem, right, it's the market that does it, right? The problem has to be profitable, right? Which is basically the vaccines that we're trying to do. But so I've always came from the scientific side, and I've always been a person that's thought that this is real, and you know, that we should be doing everything to support our families, friends, communities. And if you're not worried for yourself, you should be worried for those of us like you, JB, who are, you know, compromised because of medical conditions. Mm-hmm. My mother has these, and I forget what it's called because that's a strange name, but my mother has the seniors version of leukemia, but it's a very slow acting thing, and typically the seniors that get it will die of, you know, natural causes before they even get any effects of this. But fortunately, my mother wasn't one of the lucky ones, so she had to go on to an experimental chemo drug with very little side effects. But like any chemo thing, right, you become immunocompromised. And so, you know, I don't have a father. My father passed away 11 years ago. And so my mother's, you know, she's the only one in the family of my parents that's left. And, you know, I got to go visit her for the first time since this event started 4 weeks ago. Right. So it's been tough, but you do what you have to do to survive. And I understand that I went through some depression in the spring. I was, you know, my work here, it is in my office in the basement on the computer doing, you know, video editing and graphics design and live streaming and all that stuff. but not having the social interacting was tough. Would I have changed anything that the government had done? Absolutely not. There's a friend of Carrie and mine that's a virologist in the city of Chicago, who is very, very good at explaining, first of all, the virus and then the vaccine. And I remember we've had him actually on our show with the name we were affiliated before we came on to Fred Hampton Leftist. And we did a prime time kind of panel discussion and invited an audience. And like, the guy's brilliant, right? Just amazing. And I remember before the vaccine even started to be developed, that his group, him and where he works, had told us about the attacking the spike protein as a means of protecting people through a vaccine. And it turns out that's exactly what it is, right? So the guy's, he's got to know something, right? So I'm really afraid that, especially a lot of people on the left, because we've gotten so jaded by, anything that we hear, right? And, being leery with the once bitten, twice shy type of mentality. And that's completely justifiable. But I will say this, right? I there's not very many people on any of the left, whether that's partitioned one way or the other way or not, that would deny that climate change is a thing. Well, how do we know that? Well, because the scientific community told us that, right, originally, right? So why are we so apt to not believe science now? Right? So that's my biggest thing. You've got to believe in somebody. And I know that people are tired of their lives not being the same. But the other part of this is that, most of the voices that we hear that speak out against this are white, right? And we know it doesn't take much to look up the statistics. It shows that this event has affected Black and brown people, certainly to, a great deal more. Right. So once again, the systemic racism kicks in again in the decision-making process, even for this. Right? So I'm on the side that I believe science. Fauci be damned. Like, Fauci is the mouthpiece. And I know that the pharmaceutical industry is awful and corrupt and wrought with fraud, but their entire business model runs on the fact that they bring products to the market that actually do what they say they're going to do, right? And if they don't, ask AstraZeneca what happens, right? When you have something that doesn't work. It's not the pharmaceutical industry that developed these, right? It was scientists. It was men and women in labs creating this. And
I'm going to push back on that a little bit, though. So here's the main reason why I feel like you have people asking questions and things, because nowadays, especially with the internet, it's the information age. But the thing is, there's a lot of information out there, and it's hard to tell what's true and what's not, especially when there are certain narratives that are driven. And when it comes to science, I do believe scientists, but the problem is you can find scientists, like, with the only thing that I can see that scientists agree almost 100% on is climate change. Almost everything else, anything you want to look up, you can find a scientist that says one thing, and you can find another scientist that says the exact opposite. Because even though the data doesn't lie, how people interpret that data is the lie. That's wherein the lies are presented. And our data is not being presented to us by the scientists themselves. It's being presented to us by people like Fauci who do lie, who have that, who are part of that narrative. So that, I think, is the reason for the pushback. It's not that people don't trust science. It's just that you can literally, no matter what you believe, you can find a scientific article, even in a scientific journal, you can find something that supports your narrative, no matter what your narrative is. Unless your narrative is something, has something to do with 5G towers. Like that's there's no scientific evidence for that. But you see what I mean, though. So yes. I don't think that it's that people don't trust scientists. I think that there are, because perfect example, I've read several articles from scientists, from scientific journals, that say the exact opposite of what you're saying, which is why, and I think there are a lot of people who have done that. Like, for example, there is a certain thing, again, I'm not going to use any actual words because I'm not trying to get demonetized, but there is a certain thing that people have been using for treatment that a lot of people are coming out and saying like, oh, that's ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. But it's actually not ridiculous because there's metadata that says the human version of that situation actually has helped. So, but if you listen to like the official narrative, they're going to skew it and call it like just the version of what it is in animals and not even discuss the version that is available for humans. Mm-hmm. So I think that's where the pushback comes from. And I'm also going to challenge you on, like you said, all of the sources that are like going against the official narrative, they tend to be white. Not true. Black people have long since not trusted the government. We have no reason to. Same thing for Native Americans, especially when you look back at this government's history of how they have treated us, particularly with the very kind of situation that we're talking about. We have been given diseases via that method, and they didn't tell us, which is why we have a very strong skepticism of the government.
We do.
And that can't be ignored. So that's a big reason why, like it's more so than just like pharmaceutical companies have the aim of making money, which is true. There's also historical precedents as to why people are distrusting these things. And to discount that, I think, does a disservice.
Okay, all right, and you know what, I think maybe I misspoke when I said that, because when I meant by white voices, I meant those on like not in the actual people, not in the actual society, but like I mean.
So you mean like mouthpieces?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Basically, that's kind of what I meant, right?
Okay. Gotcha.
Oh, good, and I don't have any reason to refute any of your points, and I think that's kind of sort of what I was coming around to, is that there's so many angles on this that but it's like anything, right? We live in a society where everybody's got a spin, right? Nobody's just telling stuff the way it is.
And that's because we don't have journalism anymore.
No.
Remember when, like, I'm sure because you're older than me, when we were kids, mm-hmm. News did not put a spin on it. They just told you what happened.
Yeah.
Journalists literally just read this. These are the events. There was no political spin either way. That was done by the people after they heard the news. And the political spin used to be, here's the event that happened. We all agree that these are the facts. And then people on the left would decide, well, this means that we need to do this to solve this problem. And people on the right would say, well, no, we need to do this to solve this problem. So we all automatically agreed on what the truth was. We just differed on the solution. But now it's almost the opposite. It's like none of us can really, like, because the information age, I feel like the psyop is just throw as much information out there as possible, muddy the waters, and then the news now, they're not journalists. They just lean you to the direction you want to go. So if you watch Fox News, they're going to lean you towards, well, this is the truth. If you watch CNN, they're going to lean you towards, well, this is the truth. But the thing is, all of these companies, well, no matter whether they're supposedly left leaning or supposedly right leaning, they're all working for the corporations. They're all owned by the large corporations. So they're all teaching us something that is a version of truth, but not the whole truth anymore. We're not given just like this is what happened. In order to find out the actual truth, you have to almost become a journalist yourself and do like become a researcher to figure out, well, okay, this person, like you have to know the political leanings and the financial backings for almost anything to figure out you have to follow the money to figure out like, okay, odds are between all of these sources to get all of this together, put all of this together, this is probably true. And most people don't have time for that, and they don't have the energy, and a lot of people don't have the education, honestly.
Well,
Yeah.
I agree.
Mhm. Unfortunately, it's what we call now these excuse me, what we call these days infotainment. It's a means to watch the news with a bucket of popcorn and just to take pot shots at people who you disagree with. That's always seems to be the case. Thank you, Braithwaite Bone Spurs Quacker Bush the fourth. Always look forward to your shows. I
How did you
always
say
wanted.
that? How did you
I
do that?
I practiced. Okay. Um. So I thank you for your super chat, by the way. But back to my point. I just wanted to get a chance to say that. But
That's
plus,
awesome.
plus, I used to work for a chef where his last name was Quackerbush. Um, no, legit. We used to call him Quack for short. But you have this is they realize that they can make more money on entertainment than they do on actual news. And for this reason, this is why you have the Rachel Maddows and you have the Tucker Carlsons, that are basically um, non-fictional. I'm sorry, they're fictional news because a lot of their information is based on either um, misdirection or um, it's based on plain old lies, or
Yep.
it's based on propaganda that certain entities want you to hear. And so, because of that, it also does what we call like a confirmation bias. They work on that as well. So, this is their spin that they like to do because it makes them more money. And if you notice, because I used to watch a lot of MSNBC back in the day. Yes, I had a liberal minded tendencies as well. But if you look at the commercials in between the shows and observe those, and you'll see a lot of military industrial complex commercials. You'll see a lot of commercials from uh, uh, the fossil fuel industry. You'll see a ton from big pharma, and you'll see a lot of those. And then these same networks will advertise themselves. Remember MSNBC, lean forward. So it's based on the promotion of all, it's just neoliberalism 24/7, all day, all the time. Neoconservatism, all day, 24/7, all the time. And so this is what they push on. And so yeah. So they always skew on this. And here's the point. And they always the entity that is supposed to protect us is doing a direct contravention of their duty. They are not protecting us. They should be paying us to stay home. They
Mhm.
should be canceling rent, mortgages, and car payments. They should be backstopping anybody who is on furlough, their payments. They should be doing things like maybe canceling some student debt. They should be doing all these different things, but they don't want to. Why? Because they benefit on one side being pitted against another. This person wants to get the jab, and you have people who are skeptical of the jab. And so they want to keep that divide there so that you guys don't look at the entity that's supposed to be protecting us and going, wait a minute, um, you guys are the ones that are just walking out the back door, not actually doing what you're supposed to be doing. So we have to look at it as like this is a game that they're playing, and they're clapping their hands and saying, "Yes, my puppets, dance." When we need to stop dancing and we need to look at them and go, "Wait, wait, no, you need to do your job, and we need to get out in the street and demand that they do it." That's pretty much what I see.
I agree with you. I feel like the reason why the current surge of this is the one solution, this is the only solution we're going to come up with, that's all we're going to do. I feel like is to force everybody to not only get back to work because capitalism runs on labor,
Mm-hmm.
but also to force everybody to get back to spending. They want everybody to go back to normal. So they're like, hey, if you do this, everything will go back to normal, despite the fact that that's not true. They don't care if it's true or not. They want you to believe that you should go back to normal, that things will go back to normal, because they need you to not only be labor, they also need you to spend money. Because without our labor and without our money, the gig is up. They've got nothing.
Well, sure. And the other
That's why
thing
the narrative
is,
is being pushed.
sorry for interrupting, Jackie. The other thing is, right, that one thing that this event has laid bare is for proponents of, like myself, of modern monetary theory, that have explained that, you know, it's not the money that's the problem. It's the political will to actually use it to help the people.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's always been
I
the
agree.
problem.
Yeah.
Right.
But as we keep going, right, if the lockdown was to continue and people were able to get their monthly checks to supplement that to keep them whole during this, the farther down the road that goes, the more laid bare the neoclassical economic narrative that, you know, the debt's the devil and we have to pay it down, we have to balance the budget, gets whitewashed and it disappears, right? And people start to realize that the pay-go Nancy Pelosi esque politicians, how are we going to pay for it? Oh, we're going to have to raise taxes, is BS, right? And then people will actually start to demand the things that they should be getting, right? So this is another aspect of this get back to work. We don't want to give you any more money so we can just keep bailing out the banks. And that's, you know.
Well, I mean, one of the things I want to touch on, and you're very right on this, especially when it comes to the money aspects, more about political will. What we see today, and this actually is going to bring me to actually to my first story because we haven't got the chance to get to it yet. We had a really deep conversation about the event in question, but you know, it's all political theater, and it's all about optics.
Mm-hmm.
It's always giving the facade that we're helping, but we're not actually doing it. I remember a skit where this person was like, they want me to actually do this one thing, but I'm gonna pretend that I'm gonna do it, and I'm a flub on actually doing it so that they do all the work. And so that's exactly what the entity that's supposed to protect us is doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so this goes into um, what I wanted to share.
Mm.
Um, this goes into the whole, you know, AOC, um, you know, basically having a, um, sorry, I had to delete that. Um, AOC doing, the Met Gala. Um, there we go. Um,
My
so
God,
if
tax
anybody,
the rich. What?
if anybody hasn't seen this yet, I'm going to expand it and let me close that out. Um, this is what I mean by optics. This is optics, pure and simple. Nothing more, nothing less.
My God, tax the rich. What a model, AOC. What up? I didn't know you model as well. Damn. My God, tax the rich. What?
Nope.
Maybe you're muted. You muted yourself.
Can't hear you, man.
My bad. I'm trying to be responsible. But they always want to do optics, but it's never in the name of actually helping people. Because if taxing the rich is it's a middle position, for a lot of us. For us, it's like no, seize the means of production.
Mm.
But and taxing the rich uh, is something that should be done. But even you Andy, as a proponent of modern monetary theory, you know, she's using that as a means to provide more for the people. But that's not even you know absolutely necessary. But it's necessary in a sense of making sure that they don't have more power than they're supposed to. But for the
Exactly.
most part, you know, I mean, if they really wanted to provide for the people, they could just do it. And so, this is all the facade of just basically look at me in my dress. Don't I look fabulous? I'm a celebrity. And yet they want you to think that they're actually fighting for you.
Yes, exactly. And Carrie and I talked about this yesterday on Hair of the Dog, because our show was called Eat the Rich. It was actually there was a lot of people that push back on that statement, but I think it was more of just a taste thing, like just
Hmm.
maybe some picky eaters. But it ended up right because they're hard to cook correctly,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
But regardless of that,
You
the
got to use
whole
seasoning.
part of that, and I tweeted this out yesterday as well, that I'm just um my biggest thing, whether or not you think she looked fabulous, or
Hmm.
it was performative or whatever. I One of the very first jobs that I have ever had at Real Progressives was to edit Savage Joy Stream when she was part of that channel.
Hmm.
And she had interviewed a young AOC
Hmm.
before the election, right?
Hmm.
And when they spoke, Savage Joy brought up MMT,
Mm.
and they had a discussion about it based on the fact that AOC was quite knowledgeable about MMT, right? So she's known it for a long time.
Hmm.
So why, if you want to send a message about progressive policy, would you have a message like tax the rich, which could easily be construed as a we need to tax the rich because we need their money, right? When you know that that's not true, right? So to me, that's completely performative because it's
Hmm.
not even necessary, right? We
Hmm.
need to tax the rich, obviously, but not for the reasons that most people believe. We need to tax the rich because they're too freaking rich, right? And what do you do with money that you can't spend on things because there's not enough stuff to buy? You curry political favor, right?
Hmm.
Which is why we're in the mess that we're in. So the whole concept of taxing the rich, sure, let's tax the rich, but not because they're paying for stuff.
Hmm.
Our federal government, every time they pay for something, it's brand new money. It is keystroked into existence digitally through the Fed into the Fed's main computer and shared with the partner banks that are have accounts at the Fed. And that money then is distributed out to the entities that money is earmarked for. That is how spending works in the United States on everything. There is no tax money. There is no such thing as tax money. Taxes are just a way of deleting money out of the system. That's that. And so the whole push of that tax the rich thing, without the precursor of the MMT narrative, makes no sense for her to put out there, right? Which just tells me it was completely performative. Right?
Yeah. Jackie, your thoughts?
My thoughts are the dress was performative. It was just as performative as the kente cloth bullshit. Why?
Yeah.
Because she's still going into the Met. Nobody talked about that. Everybody's like, oh, she was like, I saw these neoliberals on Facebook that were like, oh, she's so brave for wearing a dress that says tax the rich and going into a gala filled with rich people. Do you think she's exempt from that? Do you think that she didn't eat the $30,000 meal? Like, seriously? She's not brave. First of all, it said tax the rich, not eat them. That's not brave. She just wants to tax them. They should be taxed. They know they're avoiding it. That's not brave at all. Secondly, I don't know. Maybe if she was a congressperson, she could like propose that we fucking tax them.
Well.
Oh, wait. So it's performative. It's just performative. And it's that, like you said, it's infotainment. It is just to make people who don't understand how things work believe that she is fighting for them because she was brave to put tax the rich on the back of her dress. And also, another thing people don't bring up, it's literally a brand.
It is.
When I say literally, I mean she has a print-on-demand business that sells things that say tax the rich. She has hats, t-shirts, all kinds of things. So she was really just doing promotion for her brand, which is far more capitalist than a lot of people want to believe. So the neoliberals are eating this up. They absolutely love it. They're like, oh my God, she's so brave. And the leftists are saying this is bullshit. She's not doing anything. This is performative.
Yeah. I also wanted to share, because even though AOC was at the Met Gala doing her thing, this was happening outside the Met Gala. And this is the thing that many people aren't talking about.
Thank you.
So I'm going to mute myself.
I'm pretty sure if you mute yourself, will it work? I don't know. We'll see.
We dying and nobody cares. Nobody cares. Celebrities don't care. Police don't care. The president don't care. We dying.
Is that the only video? Like, is that all to the video?
No, there's another one I'm going to be showing.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's going to be the next one. Sorry, my fingers aren't as fast as I would like for them to be.
It's okay.
Not a problem. Take your time. There's no time on this. You can take as much time as you want, JP.
Gotcha. Thank you. So this young lady as well was outside the Met Gala.
Black and brown people are on the brink of homelessness. Yeah. We cannot go back to normal. Where was the raise last year? $35,000 for a fucking kitchen. So your fucking
here. What the fuck are you doing, bro? You gonna chase me up on the block? Get out of here, bro. Get out. You trying to chase?
Okay, that is, to me, that is a prime example of the cop's actual job. I know a lot of people are like, oh, the system is broken. The system is not broken. It's working the way it's designed.
Yeah.
The police are there to save and protect property and rich people, the people who own the property. They are not there for the average everyday citizen. They are there to police the average everyday citizen, to protect the property of the landowners and to protect the landowners themselves. So just like that last part at the end there, that explains, that shows the system is working exactly as designed.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Andy, your thoughts?
So what AOC did was performative, obviously. I think we can agree on that. But even above that, that whole stunt took away from the protests that were outside. Right? Those people should have been the ones on the news.
Yeah.
Right? Like AOC went there in a dress, and you saw how when she was interviewed, the woman read the back of the dress and then right back to, oh, I didn't know you were a model. The message was lost, right? It was like gone, right? So nobody batted an eye about that. Nobody said a thing about it. There wasn't any security. There wasn't anybody saying you can't wear that or in here. AOC was presented as one of them.
Yes.
Right? They had no fear of her. Right? If you're a rich person and you're at an event like this, and someone who is truly well, let's say a new congressperson who has activist roots was in there to do something, does it not make sense that there would have been pushback at her, maybe at the door or whatever, right? And there wasn't. Because to that society, she is seen as one of them now. The celebrity of what she does, the lack of talking to her constituents in any meaningful way, the incrementalist views now that the squad is taking, the wonky decisions that we keep hearing about, for bills that they've supported.
Or just vote no, don't vote.
Yeah, but vote present or whatever it is, whatever the American system is, right?
That, by the way, is telling as well. That means that if it weren't for social media and they weren't afraid of the backlash, they would have voted in favor. But because of the backlash, they're just gonna say no. They're just gonna not say anything. They're just gonna vote present, or they're just gonna skip the vote altogether. That tells you that they were going to approve that shitty thing you didn't want approved. Exactly. They're only not doing it. They're still supporting the system by not voting no. They're only not doing it to save face with their constituents so they can get reelected.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If they clearly showed, the elitist class clearly showed that they have no fear of AOC.
Yeah.
Right?
They have no fear of the event either because they didn't wear masks.
Last year, when they were singing Imagine in their mansions, you found out 2 weeks later they were all partying together someplace, wherever. And the reason why is, again, they don't even have to go to a hospital if something happens to them. They can hire private doctors and nurses to come take care of them in their homes.
Yeah.
When you have the money, you have the means.
Funny, in France, I think it's in France, doctors still do house calls, but only here in the United States, only
in the United States, the doctors have never stopped doing house calls if you have enough money.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so look, answer this question for a not knowing Canadian. There are
with your healthcare.
There are some things that you guys, because of the event, that you don't have to pay for.
The only thing that I know of is testing, but only if you get it like even that has a gray area where you still might have to pay. That's literally the only thing that's free. Well, no, I take that back. I think one solution, shall we say, might be free under certain circumstances. But like A and B is free, but not C, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So like, or I should say 1 and 2 is free, but the booster would be not free.
Yeah, like for instance,
Okay,
I have Medicare, so Medicare for me, like it'll pay for like if I go to the hospital, it'll pay for like 80% of the cost, but the other 20% has to fall on me. But what if that is like a $10,000 hospital payment, hospital bill? So now I have to be on the bill for $2,000, which is money I don't have.
Right.
And a lot of people, even on Medicare, and Medicare is a lot better than some insurances that other people have.
Medicare is a lot better than most insurance, unless again, the only way it's as good as, like, pretty much the only way, not the only way, but for the most part, the only insurance that's actually decent is the insurance that the wealthy get. The average citizen gets shit insurance, so you're basically paying every single month to be able to pay if you need to go to the hospital, and then afterwards to have a bill left over. Hopefully it's a smaller bill because the insurance will pay a majority of it, but you'll still be broke.
Mm-hmm.
Also, because the thing that people don't talk about when talking about insurance is that hospitals can charge whatever they want. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't know that you can actually, when you get a bill, you can tell them to explain everything, to give you the breakdown of what's on there. And then you have a right to go online and compare those prices to other hospitals. Most people don't do that. Most people just see the debt and pay it or file bankruptcy, not knowing that, like, for example, Tylenol, you know, the Tylenol that you can buy an entire bottle of for $10 at Walmart. Mm-hmm. In the hospital, it's about $400. And that's not an exaggeration. Like, it's literally like for 2 Tylenol, it's like $400.
Yeah.
That's the markup on almost everything.
If I were
in the healthcare industry.
If I were a pharmaceutical company, I'd be rich right now because that big ass bottle of extra strength Tylenol I got sitting over there in the corner, I'd be able to make buku money if I were a hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how it works down here. But also when it comes to things like, let's say the solution, we'll call it that. Mm-hmm. The pharmaceutical companies are still making billions of dollars because the government is paying them for it.
Yes.
So it may be free to the person, but they're still making tons of money.
Which is another reason why people, you know, there's another reason why you should understand that MMT is a thing, because all of that money that's going to the pharmaceutical industry is coming from the government. Mm-hmm. And when was the last time your taxes went up? Mm-hmm. To pay for anything?
Yeah. Oh, do you also they also charge for skin to skin contact when you have your baby here in the United States. Mm-hmm. So
you are charged for you touching your own child when it's born.
Yeah.
We are not making this up.
Yeah.
And it's not cheap either.
No.
Mm-hmm. No. It costs about the median price to have a child is about $30,000 in the US.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
To have a baby.
Yeah.
Perpetuation of the species.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, good old USA.
That's amazing. That is unbelievable. And this is the only country that it happens in, right?
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
Oh, the best part is if you have to go to the hospital and you call the emergency, there are people who will literally call an Uber to take them to the hospital because the ambulance ride costs about $2,000.
Yeah.
To pick you up at your house.
Yeah.
Or wherever. Yeah.
I've had the bill.
It costs $2,000 to go to the ambulance. If you go to the emergency room, literally everything is 10 times the price that it should be. Like I said, well, like at least 10 times. Like I said, aspirin for like 2 Tylenol, it's like $400.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you'll have to excuse me. I have a very important phone call coming in. And it's not from Germany.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah,
right.
so I mean, my thing is that, you know, it's, we see how it's almost like, look at the birdie over here, don't look at the protests over there that are complaining about, people dying. Just look at us over here, look at me in my dress, look at me in my suit, and that's basically it. Um
I agree with you. I honestly feel like at this point, that's the purpose of the entire squad, not just one or two members,
yeah,
the entire squad. They are a distraction. I
yeah.
feel like Nancy Pelosi brought them into her office and was like, look, I will make your life absolutely hell. I
Mhm.
will take you out of all of the committees. You will get absolutely nothing done. You're going to learn to play ball.
Yeah.
And that's when they started calling her Mama Bear. And yeah, I do mean 2 years ago. I think that's how long ago it was. And I think everything that they have done since then has been performative. And I think that they basically look at the squad as like the what do they call it? It starts with a P and the word is not coming to me. The publicists
Mhm.
of Congress.
Oh, of course. Of course.
They're essentially the publicists, right? They're the
Yeah.
ones who are gonna win. So you let Nancy Pelosi, Manchin, and Cinema do all the dirty work, right? And then
Yeah.
they're gonna be the ones to come out and say, no, believe in the system, trust it, trust it. We have to do things incrementally, despite
Mhm.
the fact that they ran on we don't have time to be incremental. That
Mhm.
now they're saying like, don't worry, we're doing things in the background, and then they come out and they do performative BS
Mhm.
to show people, and the neoliberals eat it up. They're
Yeah.
like, see, she fights for us.
Yeah.
And so it's working. They're nothing more than publicity. And there's one thing that I want to say that like push back against the narrative. A lot of people are saying, oh, leftists have all these purity tests and the left is fighting itself and there's leftist infighting. Not the way I see it. I don't see it as there's leftist infighting. I
Mhm.
see it as there is a difference between people who are truly on the left and
Mhm.
neoliberals, and there are a lot of neoliberals cosplaying as leftists. And what we're doing is we're separating the wheat from the chaff. We
Okay.
are saying you are not a leftist. You are saying these things, but you don't really believe it, and we're calling you out.
Mhm.
That's what's happening. There's no infighting. We're two separate sects.
So you're
Because
basically
leftists view neoliberals pretty much the same way neoliberals view Republicans.
you're basically saying is that the left is cleansing itself.
Yeah, well, yeah, because there are a lot of people like we stopped using the term progressives because
Yeah.
like half the neoliberals were calling themselves progressives. Like,
Yeah.
understand, leftists are not Democrats. Democrats are just as big, if not more, of a problem as Republicans.
Mhm.
Because
Oh.
Republicans will sit there and say, like, here's what we're gonna do. It's a shitty solution, but here's our solution. Whereas
Okay.
Democrats are like, no, we have to be nice, and then do the exact same thing the Republicans just said.
Okay.
So to me,
So
Democrats are more harmful because they're lulling you to sleep while stabbing you in the back.
true.
Whereas with Republicans, you can see them coming. They'll tell you exactly what they intend to do.
Yeah. I'm going to do this bad thing to you. We're like, okay, then we can move to the left or to the right to dodge it. I got you.
Exactly. Where like I
Basically.
think the perfect meme to exemplify that is like the meme with the bombs with the different flags with like the Democrat bomb is like the Republican bomb would be like freedom and
Mhm.
everything, and then the Democrat bomb would be like it have a
Black.
BLM and like a
Yeah.
rainbow flag.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's still bombs. It's just the color on the outside. It's the
Yep.
messaging, but you're still not going to do anything. You're still
Yeah.
bombing people. It's
Yeah.
not anti-imperialist. It's not anti-capitalist. It doesn't actually care about people. And leftists are anti-imperialist. We are anti-capitalist.
Yeah.
We actually do give a shit about people.
Yeah. And to respond to James Root, he who shall not be named says, what do you want her to do? Now have fun? In response to that, I'm actually going to share my screen with our next story. And thank you, James Root, because you just
Segue.
yeah, You just gave me a good segue. I appreciate that. This is why I love you people. You guys are amazing. You guys are awesome. I love you. Mwah. Forehead, forehead kisses. So yeah, I want you guys to take a really good look, hard look at this, and let the disappointment just wash over you as you look at this tweet, because some of you may have not seen it, but you're seeing it now. And yeah.
Oh, I think most people heard RJ talk about it. You did too, both of you guys.
Wait. James Root said smooches.
You did give him a forehead kiss.
Yep,
so.
Forehead kisses all up in here. But this is one thing we're not giving a forehead kiss for. Okay. Unfortunately, and Jackie, you've seen a lot of the pushback that people like me and people like Unapologetic and others have gotten for being critical of Mrs. Turner. And for her stating that she's going to be a disappointment, her giving a kind of shifting rightward in her rhetoric, and she basically, ran, in her campaign, not really acknowledging activism, even when it came to the point for the March for Medicare for All, which was a prime time for her to actually get more people on her side. Unfortunately, because we criticized her for not doing so, we got a lot of pushback from people, namely some famous YouTube hosts. And I will name names. Mikey Figueredo from the Humanist Report. Yes, he went after me as well as Unapologetic for criticizing Nina Turner. And he also blamed us for her loss, even though the buck stops with her. She joined TYT, the MSNBC of YouTube. Basically neoliberals cosplaying as leftists. And even people like Jordan Sheridan was like, ooh, this isn't a good look, even though he was very defensive of her. Jackie, your thoughts?
My thoughts. I'm going to read this comment because it kind of goes in line with what Noli C said. She was taking big pharma and PAC money 6 years ago. Why did people think she was any different now? I will never know.
See, I didn't know this. I didn't know. And that's my fault.
So my thought on this is that are you still like, did you want to read that first, or are you done with it?
Oh no, I'm done with it. You can yeah.
I'll stop sharing. So my thought on this is you guys were late to the party. Before we formed FHL, when I was just going on Nick's show, remember when we did Black Rose Brigade back in the day?
Back in the day, yeah.
I said then, her husband's a cop. Okay.
I know that now. And her son too, yeah.
And her son. Mm-hmm. And she was changing her rhetoric then. That was the primaries were still going on. The presidential primaries were still going on. And I said back then, don't put all your hope in her. Don't put your faith in her, because she is a really good speaker. She is like a, you know why she's so good? Because she's like a preacher. She's like a really good preacher from like, oh, here's Nick. Jackie did call it a long time ago. Mm-hmm. Oh man, I want to highlight that, and like 10 people put a comment through, and it's just gone. Anywho, yeah, there he is. Yeah. So yeah, I said it back then. I said it on Black Rose Brigade, which was like last year. So yeah, I said, because we were talking about like, it was during the primary, and everybody's like, okay, what's like who's going to be our next person? Because Bernie's about to be 80. Like, what are we going to do? And I was like, I wouldn't put all my eggs in the Tina Turner basket because she is in a family of cops. She has never said ACAB. She has very carefully crafted her image. What do I mean by that? I mean, she is a very good speaker. But when you try to pin her down to say things like ACAB, she will not say that. She, her podcast, she did an episode with a guy who, I can't remember his name, but he's another Ohio politician.
John
and
Kasich.
Who?
John Kasich.
Thank you. And a lot of people found that podcast episode to be a bit problematic. And I said again, I was like, don't be putting all your hopes in one person. She is not the savior you think she is. And a couple of times I've said that, and people, they didn't want to hear it because they were like, well, if we're going to lose Bernie, we have to have somebody else who better to carry the torch. And I'm like, yes, I agree. She would be a good person to carry the torch. But I also feel like she's leaning too Democrat. I've said that from the jump. And then when she entered her race as a Democrat, that sealed the deal for me. That let me know that because here's the thing. If you truly do believe that you need to break up the duopoly, even Bernie, everybody's saying all this stuff about like, oh, she had to enter as a Democrat. No, she didn't. Bernie is not a Democrat in the Senate. Bernie was never a Democrat in Congress, neither when he was a representative nor as a senator. He's been an independent the entire time. The only thing that you have to pivot to the Democratic Party for is to run for president. She could have run as an independent. She could have run as MPP. She could have run as Green Party. I don't particularly care which one. My point is she didn't have to run as a Democrat, but she chose Democrat. And that told me all I needed to know.
Mm-hmm.
So I never said anything bad about her. I just told the truth.
Yeah. And I want to respond to this from Chris Frederick. He says, I'm a TYT member. I owe no allegiance to anyone. No one expresses 100% of what I think, not you or anyone in complete agreement. We have to move on. Commonality, not a perfect union, or there's no hope. Here's the thing. The thing is that a lot of people in TYT, as well as the Democrats, they're in 100% commonality.
TYT are Democrats. That's the whole problem. The commonality. See, this is exactly what I was saying earlier. We are in commonality. We're not expecting anybody to agree with FHL 100%. There are 11 of us. We do not agree 100%. Okay? Nobody's expecting purity test or 100% anything. What we're saying is there is a difference between leftist or whatever you want to call us and Democrats and Republicans. We are not Republicans. We are not Democrats. TYT are Democrats. Mm-hmm. TYT are trying to get you to stay in the Democratic Party. We are telling you to abandon the Democratic Party. We are not Democrats. That is the commonality. We are leftists. Okay. Mm-hmm. So what we're doing is we are expressing the difference between ourselves as leftists and the Democratic Party, which TYT is a part of and is caping for. I mean, they're essentially sponsored by the DNC.
Yeah.
So, and that's what we're saying. Like, we as leftists, we have no sponsors.
Yeah. And the Democratic Party is a right party. They're not right-leaning. They are a right-wing party. Let's be real. Because even the Democratic Party is to the right of the furthest right party in the UK. So even just from a global perspective, they're far right.
Yes.
If anything, Jackie and I are
from a
actually
global perspective, we're the liberals.
We're the liberals. Me and Jackie are typically the centrists in the world. So I mean, let's be honest. Like it. And for me to say that there has been a shift rightward, I think I'm pretty accurate on that description, because TYT is the right. And the thing is that look at what they've done. They've, McCarthy smeared people like Aaron Mate, Jimmy Dore. They're probably going to do it to us because we're on our way to 10,000 subs. So the bigger we get, the more they're going to smear us. Okay. They're going to smear us all different types of ways. And the thing is that they're also, Cenk has talked about being, pro-war and bombing people. Anna Kasparian, she interviewed Margaret Thatcher. Was it? I'm sorry, not Margaret Thatcher.
Yeah. No, it was Margaret Thatcher.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're right.
And so, the one who said that was killing, you know, you know, 500,000 Iraqi children, was it worth it? And she was like, yeah, it was worth it. Like, these are pro-war, pro-imperialist people. And the thing is that that's not the left. And so, um, for them if they're going to be liberals, then be liberals. Like, be honest about it. But the problem is that they pretend. They pretend all the time. The same thing with Democrats. This is why we always go after Democrats. We don't have to go against Republicans because guess what? They don't cosplay. The Democrats do.
Nope.
And they'll say, oh, we're progressive. No, you're not. And so we have to call them out on the BS. The same thing with places like people like TYT. And now with people like, you know, Kyle Kalinske, Crystal Ball, David Dole, Mike Figueredo, they're saying that they're on the left and they're now starting to move further to the right. And so now we have to call them out on that BS as well. Because the thing is that if they're going to say, if they're going to call themselves a certain thing, let's call a thing, and let's be real and honest with who you really are. And so this is one of the reasons why we're talking about this. And it's not necessarily, to demonize them, but it's literally, we're the left. We're not going to be people who sit here and coddle, people as far as, oh, it's okay, you can move further to the right because, we're all just one big tent. It's like, no, when people's lives are on the line, there is no big tent. When it comes to imperialism, no. When it comes to cops, killing people left and right, the damn right we're going to say defund the police on the road to abolition because we're not going to stand for people being killed and maimed any longer. And so this is the left.
TYT's message is we can't say abolish the police. That's too harsh.
Yeah.
It's not too harsh that people are literally dying by these monsters, but the word abolish is too harsh.
Yeah.
Tone policing.
Exactly.
Right? When you don't have an argument, you tone police.
Yeah. And so this is one of the reasons why I'm saying what I'm saying. Especially when, you have a lot of people who follow these different accounts. I think, did I miss a super chat? I'm sorry.
I'm getting to it.
Oh,
I'm trying to get. There's a ton of things. I'm trying to go down the list.
Yeah, I got you. Thanks, Frank Kevin, for the super chat. We appreciate it. But look, even us, do not let us speak for you. Don't. No, because we can have some bad takes once in a while too. We're not perfect. But the thing is that we try to be as authentic and objective as possible, but we mess up too. I know, sure as hell, I mess up all the time. But the point is that we have to look at what truly being on the left is. And classically, this is what it's been. And so we compare that to what the rhetoric and actions of other people are doing. And if they're not doing it, then it's like, wait, that circle doesn't square. So therefore, we have to say, no, you're not going according to it. And the thing is that people keep trying to pull the definition of leftism to the right. No. We're not pulling the definition of leftism to the right. We're not pulling the definition of socialism to the right. We're not pulling the definition of communism to the right. We're not going to do that because that's exactly what they, meaning the powers that be, want us to do so that they can say, oh, well, we made it more palatable. Palatable for who? For the oligarchs?
Yeah.
No, we're not going to do that. That's silly. That's stupid. Because then that means that they're going to have even more power. The power is the real aim is to take their power away from them.
Yep.
Sorry, I spoke too long.
No, you're good.
Oh.
Andy, what do you have to say? Welcome back, by the way.
Well, thank you. Now, James, I'm not sure. Did you follow a fairly straight path to your conclusion there, or did you deviate and go start talking about something else? Because I wasn't privy to the beginning of your talking points there. So what's the main thrust of this one specific discussion? Is it just about the Democrats?
Well, no. Ultimately, we were talking about Nina Turner joining the Young Turks. We've gotten to that subject already. And one of the commenters, I forgot his name, I apologize. He was saying that he's a TYT member and that he does not have any loyalties to TYT, but he's basically saying that it's almost like we shouldn't be I don't want to mince his words inaccurately, but we shouldn't be, in a sense, purity testing everyone. And we're not. And what I'm basically responding to is that we're not purity testing people, is we're making a distinction. And yes, we're basically saying that TYT are basically liberals and Democrats cosplaying as leftists, and we need to call that out.
Of course.
It's basically making a distinction. And that's what me and Jackie were speaking about. And I went on a tangent just now. And so you just got in the middle of that.
Okay. All right. No, I agree with everything you just said completely. We've seen this division, and it was amplified.
Thank you.
For the for the March for Medicare for All, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have this one side that are Democrats that consider themselves to be Democrats, but also claim to be progressives. And then you have pretty much everybody else that's dissolved or divorced themselves from electoral politics because there's no point. And why do we see that division? Well, it's quite clear to me that when you look at that, anybody that's on the side of being on the Democrats that considers themselves a progressive on the left, and I'm talking about the pundits that we've been calling out, and the Miami Jeff dude and all these people, and they're all intertwined with the DNC or the Democratic Party in some way, and you find out the reason that they're talking about this is because they think that they're in line for a paycheck, right? That they're going to get a job or get some kind of role in the Democratic Party or the DNC or for a pundit who does that. All for
literally
money.
All of politics is follow the money.
Yeah. Right. That's the people over here with us, that are just trying to figure out a way to allow people to survive this event, right? And everything else that's happening, including climate change, right? We don't have time for false prophets anymore.
We do not.
Nope.
Mm-mm.
Ask people in Portland or Vancouver. How's the weather? Right?
You're right. Yeah.
Record temperatures in the Arctic. The Gulf Stream
even Southern California's weather has changed. We now have humidity. For the last few years, it's been becoming more and more humid. We used to have dry heat. Now we have humidity. I don't like that because that's for Florida. Y'all can have all of that. We were the dry heat. Okay.
Right.
We were not supposed to be. You're not supposed to sweat just going outside to check the mailbox. That's for places like Florida, the swamp of the US. Take offense,
Florida. I will take offense, Jackie.
We're Florida North in Ontario because we're surrounded by Great Lakes. and we
See,
get all
we
the
have
humidity.
in California, we have the ocean. And we have the nice ocean breeze. And when you have a nice dry, arid, when everything is dry and the air is arid, and then you have a little bit of an ocean breeze, literally perfect.
Jackie's
That's
talking
what we
about.
used to have,
You
and
sounded like
now your swarmy Florida air is coming over here, giving
Jackie
us
started.
humidity, and I don't appreciate it.
Jackie's starting to sound like she's from the Caribbean. She's talking about going to the ocean breeze, just washing over her. The salty air coming all over her.
The eucalyptus plant.
Oh,
Yeah,
it
you
is.
too, Andy.
I
too.
love Carrie's take on this because she went from Chicago to New Mexico, right? And we had to dedicate 6 shows to explaining to Americans that New Mexico is in the U.S., right?
Please tell me you're kidding.
Regardless of that,
Please tell me you're kidding.
Oh my God.
well, partially. That's
my
all I'm going to say
gosh.
about that. But she moves to the desert, right? From the Windy City to the desert. And it was snowing when she got there. She says, "This is the worst fucking desert I've ever seen. It's flooded. The desert has flooding."
That's what I mean. That's all climate change, but people don't want to talk about that.
No. Well, and look at what the different countries in the world are faced. Like, if you look at probably one of the first victims of climate change will be the country of Bangladesh, because they're already seeing areas of that country that are inhabitable now, right? 140, 150. And human beings can't live there. So if you look at the country and where it is in Asia, the only real place that they can escape across land is into a country that considers them their arch enemy on religious grounds, because they're two different religious societies. So when you think about what's going to happen to these people when they can't live where they are and they try to save themselves, it's very conceivable that you could have 2 nations going to war to protect
Essentially,
their border.
it's another Gaza Strip.
Yeah.
It's climate change is going to create those all over the world. But Andy, you have to bring it to white people, because you're talking about a bunch of brown people that most Americans can't even, find on a map. So we have to make it so that people will care. So think about this. When the weather in Canada becomes like Southern California, we won't be able to live in Southern California anymore. It'll be too hot. I've told my bosses, I was like, because I work at a restaurant and we have a patio. During, last year during lockdown, the only part of the restaurant that was allowed to be open for dining was the patio. And that works because we're in California. And right now, it may get too hot, but, not that bad. With what I was telling my boss was, within a decade, you're not going to be able to set people on the patio. It's going to be too hot in the summer. Mm-hmm. Way too hot. So, I mean, it's probably, we're not going to get to the point in California, most likely Southern California, because when I say California, understand the entire state is Los Angeles and below. Okay. Nothing above that exists. San Francisco may as well be in another state. Nobody cares about Sacramento. Pat.
Sacramento.
So yeah.
Good golly.
California is Southern California. Okay. So I'm not only a coastal elitist, I am a Southern coastal elite. I am specifically just talking about 3 cities. That's it. Okay.
I've heard about you people.
Yeah, I am that person. I am the people. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
I'm a total snob. But it's okay because we're just better.
Oh, yes. Look, and we know who to point to now, James, when we get demonetized, right?
Yes.
Hey, I didn't say anything bad. I just told the truth.
Yeah. The people in Silicon Valley, they do not look kindly upon you Southern Californians.
Mm.
And
What do you have to say about that, Jackie?
what I have to say is the state of California is the 5th largest economy, and Silicon Valley, like, they may not look kindly on us. We may not look at them at all. But at the end of the day, we're all still California. So, like the dude on TikTok says, California forever, goodbye. So, there's a dude on TikTok who, like, his entire channel is just proving that California is the superior state.
Well, isn't
Got
there
tons
a
of videos.
fault line that runs right up the state?
There's also a fault line that runs right through the middle of the country, and that's actually the one that created the most damage in American history. But people don't think of they don't think of like history, so they're like, oh, that's in the 1800s. Who can think that far? But that's the one that actually it destroyed parts of Tennessee, including like Memphis, and it made the Liberty Bell in Philadelphia ring. So if you want to talk about like earthquakes that are destroying people, we got one right up the middle.
There
Butt crack of the U.S.
You know what else has a big ass crack in the middle? An ass. That's what has a crack in the middle.
I mean, that's essentially. We are gonna get demonetized. I'm about to like pour out my Missouri hate. It's not gonna get good. Let's just.
It's all good, Rome. We love you anyway. Thanks for trying.
Thanks, Rome. I want to answer this question real quick. If the police are abolished, who do you call when you get your house shot up, robbed, other situations happen for no reason? First of all, there's always a reason when people do these things. Secondly, do you think the police solve these things? Because for the most part, they don't.
They're reactive.
They are reactive. So they're not going to stop those things from happening. So that's the first thing, that they seldom prevent anything. Secondly, the only way the police will come and protect and like actually find out what happened to your house, there are two ways that happens. Either one, you essentially solve it and tell them, and then they just go arrest the person. Or two, if you're rich, and then they'll actually investigate. Because like we said again, they're there to protect the property of the wealthy. They are not there to protect and serve the everyday person.
Yeah,
exactly. Like I'm not kidding about this. This is a real thing. This always has been. The only thing is we were taught propaganda. They're our friends. They're the ones we go to help us. They are not. They never have been. And like even pop culture acknowledges this. If you watch the beginning of the TV series Dexter, the opening of Dexter even says in Miami, 80% of murders go unsolved. That's in a TV show. Okay, they knew it back then. Yeah. Welcome, Sabby, to the stream, everybody.
Sabby! Talk about a welcome.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. And your hair looks fabulous, honey. You and Jackie, you guys should have been on the red carpet at the Met Gala. Not them.
I literally wouldn't go to the Met Gala if you paid me.
I know.
Because
I'm just saying, y'all look better than the people at the Met Gala because you guys actually care about poor people.
Yes.
Sabby, you look like you didn't just work all day and drive home and run up the driveway and sit down behind the computer and turn it on real fast.
Oh, thank you.
You're
You.
welcome.
You should have seen me earlier.
Yeah. But I just want to get back to that. Also, by the way, police only solved 3%. Was it 2 or 3% of crimes? That means 98% of all crime, 98% of all crimes do not get solved by police at all.
Right.
Also, you have literally hundreds of thousands of untested rape kits in police departments. And let me ask, how many of those rape kits would have the DNA of police in them? So let's be real. Also, most people commit crimes. They're crimes of opportunity and crimes of desperation because they do not have resources. And if you were to take that money and reallocate those resources to the people that actually need them, then guess what? Then the crime would actually go down in those neighborhoods. And
a
also,
shocked look.
And here's another thing. those crime rates that will actually go down, guess what? What are the safest neighborhoods in the United States? The ones with all the money and resources.
Yep.
So
Oh,
if you were to take those money and resources and put those actually into the poorer neighborhoods, then the crime would go down, and then also a lot of things would go up. Like education will go up, economy will go up, all these
Yep.
different things. So let's be honest. Defund the police, I think it's a good idea on the road to abolition.
Yeah, this comment, perfect. If you have no police, what is the alternative? Anarchy. The police need to be fixed, not abolished. First of all, I am an anarchist. So yes. Second of all, just throw that out there, okay? I call myself a socialist because I know we'll never get anarchy in my lifetime in this nation. But ideally, I'm an anarchist. So yeah. But the alternative to the police, you said, what is the alternative? Okay, so again, the reason why we keep saying this is because I feel like y'all aren't hearing me. Okay, the police are not there to protect you. You got to get out of that mindset. So when you say what is the alternative, it's what it is right now. The police are not protecting you.
They're not.
Nope.
They're
So
literally
you
not.
have to realize that, first of all. Okay. So when we get rid of the police, the things that are no longer going to be protected are land and things that belong to rich people. The people who won't be protected are rich people. So then what is the alternative to that? The alternative to that is exactly what JB said. Now you actually go and you do the social programs. You make sure that everybody is fed, everybody is housed, and then crime drops dramatically. Because again, like the first comment that we mentioned about this said, like, for no reason, and I said there's always a reason. You fix the reason. That's how you fix the problem. You get rid of the reason why there's crime in the first place. We go back to communities. Instead of communities being exclusively online, people actually know who the hell their neighbors are, and people look out for each other. You don't need the police if you have a neighborhood that watches out for itself. That's why, again, neighborhood watches do more to help neighborhoods than the police do.
Jackie,
Yeah,
your
they don't.
thoughts?
Yeah, they don't actually stop crime or prevent crime. And another thing the person was referencing about fixing the police, we've already tried to do that. We tried that with body cams. We've tried that with, you have police departments that are retraining their officers, especially after George Floyd, and yet police brutality is still continuing because this is not something at this point that can be reformed. You have to tear the system down and you have to rebuild a new one.
Exactly. That is 100% correct. Because if the body cams, they put body cams on the police and expected their behavior to change, and it didn't. Right? If you get pulled over on the highway doing 20 miles an hour over the speed limit, right, and you survive that, first of all, and then you get this major fine and you have to pay it. If you do it again, the fine either goes up exponentially or you get thrown in prison, right? So the body cams were put on the police to curtail that behavior, a deterrent, and it didn't stop.
Nope.
With
Especially
no consequences.
when they have the power to turn it off.
With and they don't get chastised for that. Oh, well, didn't work.
And you have to remember too, like why we have police to begin with. We didn't always have police. Police were formed as slave patrols to capture slaves. And so, no, we don't still have slavery, but you still have police going after Black people. In reference to Andy's comment about speeding, why do we have police officers doing traffic stops? That doesn't make any sense to me. You don't need a cop to give you a speeding ticket.
So I primed this video up because we're talking about police. And all the comments have been great segues. I appreciate it. This one was a video shared by Fred Hampton leftist co-host Afeni in response to Jamal Bowman. And what you're about to see is cops about to perform an eviction in a neighborhood. So I'm about to mute myself and press play.
Nobody up or doing nothing unfair. Where y'all names at? Y'all don't got name tags in here, bro. Y'all don't got name tags. Nobody answering me. I need to know who I'm gonna be reporting if y'all do anything unjust to these people. We got a couple colored people, bro. I gotta make sure.
Real quick, sir. Real quick.
That's my son.
I know, but I kind of want everybody out because to de-escalate the situation, nobody goes in. I know, but you got people on camera. I don't know who he is.
These are my people. I'm trying to make sure they straight. It's 10 of y'all and 3 of them, bro. She's a woman with 2 kids, bro. Oh, they doing an eviction. The U.S. Marshals have no name tags. They hopped out in unmarked minivans, and they got guns. When do you need unmarked minivans and guns to move somebody out of a house? Nobody up or doing nothing unfair. Where y'all name?
Don't forget to unmute yourself.
So, I'm not even going to say anything about this. Sabby, since you just joined, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I find it very suspect that they didn't have name tags. I don't know why they're pulling out of an unmarked van. At this point, they could be anyone. I wouldn't trust their word for it either. Also, why are there 10 of them? And this is what the police do. They show up heavily militarized. They escalate situations instead of de-escalating situations. At this point, this is not something that can be reformed in this country. That's what people have to understand, because police at the end of the day are going to protect each other. They're going to protect other police officers, especially. And some people say, well, what about black cops? And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Black police officers are cops first, and they are black second. They will always protect the police state. And as long as you have qualified immunity, nothing is going to change.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Exactly. Jackie, what are your thoughts?
I want to highlight this comment. Corey says, we're saying this because some of us live in high crime areas, like top 10 city murder rates. Again, address why people are being killed. Solve the problem. Think of this as, the way I see it is, think of it as a human being who is sick. You can either keep putting a Band-Aid on it and keep trying to address the symptoms, or you can figure out what the cancer is and remove the cancer and then let the body heal itself. So the murders are a symptom. Solve why people are murdering each other. And we're never throwing money at that, because people don't care why people, like the people who are rich, they don't care why other people are getting murdered because they're not getting murdered. Let the poor people murder themselves.
Yep.
That's what we're saying. You've got to, essentially all of this ties back to capitalism. If you get rid of capitalism, we don't need police.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I used to live in Baltimore. My parents are from Baltimore, and almost every crime that I saw on the news was related to poverty. So if you get rid of poverty, the crime rate will go down. And Jackie's right. This is why wealthy neighborhoods have very low crime rates.
Mm-hmm.
Happy people don't commit crimes.
Right. That's why. Look, we can even point at just the over policing in black neighborhoods, man. Like we are arrested for 50% of violent crimes, but we're not convicted for it because we are over police. This is just another form of slave watchers. You know what I'm saying? The watchmen. There ain't nothing but an upgrade from that shit. Anybody who agree with any form of policing from the state, you're not serious about dismantling America, man. Because if you think that the police help us in any fucking way, you out of your motherfucking mind. Like if anything, the fear of the police should stop. The sight and just the thought of police should stop crime by itself. And if that doesn't do it, then you have to go by the root. You have to go by the root. Why do we call the police when something happens? You know, so why are these things fucking happening, man? It's no different from them people saying, oh, look at the people in Chicago. Look how they treat each other. Look at the people in Detroit. Look how they treat each other. Like, we wouldn't have to do this if, you know what I'm saying, we just had a way up. If we moved ourselves up and stopped putting money in the police, like the police get more money than our public schools here. That makes no fucking sense. That makes no sense at all. And all kind of shit, like, bro, you gotta go at the root. Police not gonna stop crime If anything, they are controlling crime, especially when I worked in trap houses. I sold, you know what I'm saying, cocaine and weed and all of that. The police used to rob us. They used to run up in our shit and rob us. They don't fucking stop crime. They're just controlling it better than what we can do. But we can do the shit because we can do the shit on our own. Who's gonna police us? Ourselves. Because that's what we do right now. And like, Billy assaulted Jen. You know that Ken has stole something from out of so and so house. You know. Why can't you police yourself? Why do you need some robot from the state to take care of what you should have been doing in your own community?
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
it makes no sense. Take care of your damn self. This is what we've been doing. This is what we're doing now. We feed our people. We take care of our people. We protect our fucking people. If the police was the one to break in your house, who are you gonna call? Have you thought about that? Have you thought about that? Have you been on the receiving end of the police robbing you? Have you thought about that? All right then. So who the fuck do I call when that type of shit happens?
Yeah. Who do I call when police got their guns pointed at me and I didn't do anything wrong?
Yeah, you can't call the cops on the cops.
Yeah,
exactly.
One of my points that I want, and I'll get Andy in this, and I'm going to make this really quick point. Like I said, most crimes are done.
No problem.
Most crimes are done out of desperation or crimes of opportunity. If somebody is stealing something, it's because they are most likely they are lacking in something. If somebody is selling something, it's because they're trying to get the money to survive. If people are doing these actions that are illegal, then how do you make it so that they don't have to do it? People are like, we shouldn't throw money at the problem. No. Throw money at the problem. Yes, throw money at it. Because that's the main reason why so many people are in the BS that they're in. It's because they lack the resources. Look at our living. Look, we don't even pay a living wage right now. We don't. And so you expect these people to sit there and try to survive when they can't even make their rent? So of course, look, if I'm living in the hood and if I can't pay my rent, and then these means tested, policies don't help me at all, then shoot, maybe I should take a brick and sell a few rocks on the side. But the thing is but then guess what? I get arrested and I get put into the system. So here's the thing. What would help me to not do that? It would be to help me get the resources. But guess who takes all the resources? The police does.
Look how they did the opioid crisis, bro. Bro, look how they did the opioid crisis. They ain't treat them like how they did our neighborhood. They ain't locked them up. They ain't locked them up in prison and then get them. They threw money at the fucking problem. They got them motherfuckers treatment and they treated them like fucking humans at the end of the fucking day. So throw money at the fucking problem. But that's the thing. That's the thing. Y'all don't want black people getting up. And for y'all to want the police in our neighborhood, I'm telling you, y'all people think we are monsters. Y'all look at us like animals. Why should we have zookeepers in our neighborhoods over police? There's nothing to do. I'm sitting out here on the corner in one of the most dangerous cities, they say. And I just seen more police officers than I seen gangbangers. Why? Why is that? Fuck out of here, man.
Okay, so one thing that I want to clarify, a lot of people don't realize that when we say the police only protect property of wealthy people, and when we say the police were started from slave abolitionists for going after slaves that had freed themselves, what I don't think a lot of people are connecting is the slaves were the property.
Yes.
Remember, black people were considered property when they were slaves. So when we say they are not here to protect the people, they are here to protect the property, they consider people property.
Yes.
So understand what we mean by that. Okay. I don't think a lot of people are making that connection. Also, I saw a comment that was from Chris. He said, I have a best friend that I grew up with that became a cop now in Chicago. He is a good human being. They aren't all the ones on CNN protecting Karens left and right. The reason why we say ACAB, which stands for all cops are bastards, is because the good cops do not prevent the bad cops from being bad cops. And there are more bad cops than there are good cops. You just have
Ain't no
some that are
motherfucking
caught
good cops.
and some that are not caught. For example, not all 4 people killed Derek Chauvin, but all of them watched or not killed. Were with Derek Chauvin when he killed George Floyd, but all of them watched. Not a single one of them stopped.
Yep.
None of them are good. That's why they all had charges. They may not have been the ones actually putting their knee on his neck, but they didn't stop him. That's what we mean when we say
he's
ACAB.
relatable because he grew up with you and you have this soft spot for him. But I'm pretty sure you wouldn't think the same way if you was just to see a random cop. You know what I'm saying? You'll probably think the worst of them. But that's how it is. That's how you gotta think of these people because they are bad human beings. Like, who the hell want to join these cliques for the state? And like, there's so much you can do, man. You can be a construction worker and so many other things you can do that can be good for your community. But you rather get paid to harass people in black and brown communities? Like, what the hell is up with that? What is wrong with people, man? Why is your mind like this? Why do you think that we need this type of protection? Like we haven't been doing this before the police. What was we doing before the police? What was we doing as humans before the police? Well, let's go back to that. Because it's obvious it was working just fine. It was working just fine. But this shit right here, with America having the most people locked up in the world, y'all don't come to me about reforming anything, about saving the police, about doing anything that got something to do with any forces. The police shouldn't even have a union.
Yep.
Y'all don't, please do not come on this show. Do not come in these comments talking about reform anything. There is no reforming anything that was made to keep people in line, that was made to keep people slaves. You can't reform that. Just like how you feel about the capitalist system, about healthcare and all this and that. That's how we feel about the police, my nigga. That's how we feel.
Yeah.
Thanks, Meg, for the super sticker. Jimmy, thank you, Jimmy, for the super chat. Money and resources will absolutely end poverty. Only then will we have the agency to start committing normal white collar crimes like they do. LOL.
Yeah, I was gonna say, everyone should read Malcolm Gladwell's the book, The Tipping Point. Everyone should read that book. I think in the first chapter they talk about the tipping point and what happened to Baltimore. Baltimore wasn't always a crime, a high crime city. When they closed the factories in Baltimore, there used to be a lot of factories. They closed the factories, people lost their jobs. And then they planted drugs. They brought drugs into the city to destroy the Black community. These two things go hand in hand. So you lost your job, you're broken, you don't have, hope, you have despair. Someone offers you drugs, you feel like this is going to make you feel better, and there you go, and then it repeats the cycle. So again, this all goes back to poverty. You have to ask yourself, what would have happened if they didn't close those factories, if they didn't send our jobs overseas? Rome can probably say the same thing for Detroit. Detroit didn't always used to be that way. At one point, Detroit was one of the richest cities in this country.
That's where black people came to get power, to get rich, and to get the fuck on, basically. And they had to stop that pipeline of black people getting on. They had to stop that pipeline. So what they do, they drove freeways through our communities. They built prisons in black neighborhoods. Like, bro, I grew up around a prison, not a jail, a prison. You can walk up the street and see it. That is fucked up to see what your future is, what these people have in stake for you.
Yeah. And you know what? To Meg's comment, Meg said that Reagan helped bring drugs into the neighborhood. That's actually factually accurate, because the CIA were the ones who were actually bringing in the drugs from the global South and Latin America and using those drugs to put into our neighborhoods. And then they made those drugs illegal so that they can actually put us into the prison system to have more slavery within the prison industrial complex, while also committing imperialism in the global South and in Latin America so that they can actually extract the resources while destabilizing the countries in the global South, which is one of the reasons why we have so many undocumented immigrants coming here for to save themselves from the basically the BS that the United States created. So really, ultimately, it's always leads back to capitalism. Always.
Yep, absolutely.
Andy, your thoughts, please.
I was just going to convey a story that we told on the new Untouchable series, which was the first one on season 2, and it was about.
Just letting you know, we have about 9 minutes left. Just let.
Okay, so I'll make it quicker than I was going to. Lady by the name of Cindy Brown. Cindy Brown was a member of the gold-winning Olympic basketball team for the United States. I believe it was in 96?
Mm-hmm.
Right? They won the gold medal. We know in our cultures how we elevate athletes, especially from the Olympics. We've seen that, for decades and decades. She lives by herself with a dog, was taken advantage of. Somebody stole her identity and basically took the value of her home off of basically they took loans against her mortgage. And I think it was it 3 years ago? She's one of the victims of the fraudulent and corrupt banking and mortgage industry. 20 to 25 sheriffs from 3 different counties on her property. They spray painted her camera's security system, used a battering ram to bash in her front door, and 20 of them rushed into their house with AR-15s, and they arrested her. And as they're bringing her out of the house, they're all high-fiving like it was some great accomplishment, right? This is an American hero, right? From the Olympics. What's happened to us? How did we let it get this bad?
Humans always been this bad. That's why Mayo was killing their ass. Humans always been this bad. No point in history shows me that humans have been kind. Humans have been kind to each other. I mean, it was certain points in certain communities where people are taking care of each other. But then they get overthrown by some evil motherfucker that somehow get power from other evil motherfuckers. Evil humans been evil. This is just our nature, straight up. And I'm so tired of being around the bush with you evil motherfuckers. Y'all are so evil, bro. Y'all don't see yourselves. Y'all don't see what the cause. Y'all don't see the havoc that we have caused across the world. Little do y'all even care. I'm so tired, bro. I'm so tired of being around the bush. What happened? Nothing happened. This human nature. Y'all niggas are sick.
Makes a very good point, Rome.
Mm-hmm. Jackie, what do you have left for the week? I know you have Nerdologics coming up Monday.
Monday we are talking about the movie Zeitgeist. Meg hasn't seen it yet. I saw it when it first came out several years ago. That's what we've got going on Monday at 1:00 Pacific, because the West Coast is the best coast, even though I'm the only West Coaster here. I will stand up against all of y'all. Anyway,
Sabby, just roll your eyes, girl. Just roll your eyes. Just,
I've been attacking Florida all day.
Join me in rolling your eyes, like.
Yep. So, and check out our panel from this past week, or from this week, where we talked about, is Batman a cop? And we had some special guests, Malin Splain, Nico House, and Franco from Frank Analysis. So that's us.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Sabby, please, what do you have coming up soon?
Yep. So tomorrow on FHL, I'll be talking about the dangers of standardized testing and why that's very problematic. And then Monday night on my channel, I'm going to interview Caleb Maupin. So that should be pretty good. So tune in.
Awesome. Andy, what do you have coming up next?
In the morning, Carrie and I are going to have another episode of Hair of the Dog. And this week's Macro and Cheese is an interview with a gentleman who is the co-founder of the group Modern Money Scotland. And it's really interesting because the Scottish people are looking at Scottish independence, and if they understand MMT, it makes life a whole lot easier to explain with modern sovereignty how it works better to get away from the clutches of jolly old England. And then we'll be back with our shows again next week.
Awesome.
That's about it.
Rome, you are on location helping people out right now. I know you got some stuff coming up soon. What's up?
Man, I'm getting back on the road. I'm gonna be back in Tennessee in November. But right now I'm in Detroit giving away shit. Just gave away some more shit. So hopefully I can finish up the rest of the stuff tonight so I can repeat it tomorrow. Next week, not next week. Shit, Saturday. I'm supposed to be having Anthony Clark, or I'm trying to get on the podcast that is left, but I think he know I got a crush on him, so I think he's trying to avoid me. But no, but that's about it for me, man.
All right, cool. On this Sunday, I will be having Rob Beekner, also known as Robert Durned. He has a political fight club. He will be on my show on this Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the JB Show. Also, by the way, we are 130 people subs away from 10,000 subs. We are on the road to 10,000. And I'm trying to do it tonight, but unfortunately, I don't know if we can be able to do it tonight. But if you can, if you're not subscribed, then please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I usually never say this, but for some reason, I got to say it. But
so you know 130 people.
If you know 130 people.
I also usually never say, hey, donate if you can, but Rome came on today, so this is probably going to get demonetized. So donate if you can. Pretty much Rome comes
His
on
reputation
and
precedes him.
We're not going to get any ad money on this. So
yeah, Rome's like that dude with TNT. He comes in, he puts the TNT in, he puts his fingers in his ears, and boom, there you go.
Blows it all up.
I try. Man, when like my phone wouldn't let me, I had to actually go on $70 to let me hook up to their Wi-Fi and all that shit. I was like, you know what? I gotta get in this because they talking about police. Hold on, fuck the police. Let me get it. I try my best. I'm like, I gotta get in here. Motherfuck the police. We ain't reforming. I got you. Hey, tell your police ass daddy we coming for his job. Tell your police ass uncle to stop being a fucking racist. Stop taking up for your police ass friends. That's the only reason why you want to reform it is because you're getting some out of it. It's because your friends benefit off of it. But we don't give a motherfuck. Get a real job that actually benefits the people. Get a real job. I don't care. Fuck the police. Demonetize these nuts, bitch. I don't care.
See, that's why I said that. Okay.
All right, y'all. Y'all gonna have to donate some super chats because we just got demonetized. Yeah.
That public service announcement was brought to you by Rome.
I feel like we have to have a disclaimer. The views of Rome are not the views of all of us.
Well, actually, they are.
They are, but we don't want to.
What we really meant to say was.
He's an English translator, like Key and Peele.
I'm the calm translator for Rome. I'll be his calm translator. You know.
They call a Rome whisperer. You're the Rome whisperer.
The Rome whisperer.
I will be the Rome whisperer.
I'm already like, you're already making me lose my patience, man.
We sorry about that, Rome.
Whatever man chose violence. Okay. So first of all, what did I say? The West Coast is still the best coast. Don't hate. But what did I say about California? It is really just Southern California. We don't even count Sacramento. Okay? I said that before.
I did the same thing, Sabby. I did the same thing.
We all did, Sabby.
Yeah, we got.
Just saying, like I already addressed this. I told you it's only Southern California.
Look, you're bragging about Southern California, and we're already a minute over, and I've been trying to close the show. Damn it, Jackie.
Stop being coastist.
Hey, I'm trying to give people an opportunity to give us more super chats.
They got the biggest, they got the fifth largest economy. Them niggas capitalists. That's why.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, the comments on what's more respectable than a cop. I'm not gonna repeat them, but some of them are really funny. Y'all are hilarious.
Look, if I promise y'all this, if we can get 130 more subs tonight, then Rome will take off his shirt.
No,
and
stop it! Look, forgive it to you.
And a thong.
Calm down.
Oh, y'all.
Calm down.
No, my eyes are burning.
No, we're not gonna be. We're
I'm
not
a
gonna get the
volunteer
whole channel
Rome.
demonetized in an effort to just get to 10,000.
If I had the body, I would do it, but I'm a little fluffy, so I just can't do it. You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
Shit,
Okay.
like them fluffy.
And on
Boy,
that
you
note-
sleeping on fluffy, boy. Man, come on, man. You sleeping on them big boys. I'm be sleeping on them big boys, man. It gets down.
Oh my goodness. All
Y'all
right.
had fun. Thank you, everybody who came. Thanks to everybody who showed up. Also, really quick, I have a bone to pick with Robert, Mr. Tyler Durden. What the hell, man? You go on Sabby's show, you're gonna go on JB's show. You literally named your channel Political Fight Club. I'm the first one from FHL to have even noticed your ass. Don't even think about nerdpolitics. You're literally named up after a movie, but you're gonna ignore us? Okay. Go ahead.
What
the hell? God. Let me tell you something. I was the first one to notice him.
No, I'm the first one to notice him. Ask Rome. Ask Rome. I talked about him months ago.
I thought I was the first one who knew about Rob.
You were the first one to have him on, but I noticed him months ago.
Thank you for tuning
Sabby,
in
I
to
told you
the
about Rob.
Roundtable
I
on
was the first
FHL.
one.
This is your announcer,
He's like, this
Andy
is what happens when
speaking.
black people start talking.
Take care and have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, you talking about? You go. All right.
All right. We
Oh shit.
make sure y'all subscribe.
Yeah, it's free. Kids
1:30.
everything free.
That was the smoothest.